Us today. I'm Police Sergeant Brad Gitcomb from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. I'm assigned to the Special Events Division, which includes our Marine unit. We're joined here today by several law enforcement partners because we cannot handle all these waterways alone. Every year at the start of the boating season, we announce this amplified enforcement activity that will take place throughout the next few months of our waterways to protect manatees and to reinforce the importance of safe boating. Some of these law enforcement agencies' vessels are clearly marked and some are not marked, but obviously you'll see their lights and hear their sirens when they're on the water. We will be out enforcing the slow speed zones, the manatee zones, and of course all applicable laws such as boating under the influence. Federal fines range from $125 to $25,000 and/or 6 months imprisonment under the Endangered Species Act. The United States Fish and Wildlife Service is the principal federal agency responsible for this protection enforcement activity. I would like to begin by thanking Jim Suber, City Dock Master, and our representative from the Mayor's Office for being here today. Also joining us this morning is Dr. Jerry Pinto of Jacksonville University, a respected biologist and a marine scientist, and a great advocate for our beautiful waterways. We also have Luke Clayton from the United States Coast Guard, Jim Validi, the recovery and listing biologist and regional Florida manatee coordinator for the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, Police Officer Roland Green, and marine biologist Nadia Gordon from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and Deputy Ken Clements from the Nassau County Sheriff's Office Marine Unit. Jacksonville is the river city. The intercoastal waterway is the waterway equivalent of Interstate 95 for northbound and southbound travel. There are approximately 30,000 registered boaters in Duval County and 1,000 more visiting our area and using our waterways. Protecting this great asset is part of protecting our quality of life. It is estimated that more than 100,000 boats travel through our waterways each year. As many of you know, Jacksonville is home to a large population of manatees, and we want to be extremely careful to make sure that they are not injured or killed. These endangered species are easy to spot if waterway speed limits are obeyed. With a little caution and low speed, boaters can avoid striking and possibly killing these endangered creatures. So far this year, there has already been one watercraft-related manatee death. Last year in 2016, there was one watercraft-related manatee death in Jacksonville's waterways. With your help, we hope to educate the public about manatee zones and the importance of slowing down so this number does not increase. We view our waterways as a great regional asset and appreciate another opportunity to enforce the law without borders and working with these trusted partners. Some additional facts you may be interested in. Duval County has approximately 125 square miles of navigable waterways. Our education and enforcement efforts will take place throughout the waterways, including the Intercoastal and Sisters Creek. In 2016, there were 6 joint manatee protection deployments with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Marine Unit, FWC, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the U.S. Coast Guard. In addition to the joint efforts with our partners, our Marine Unit also conducted 117 manatee protection deployments on its own in 2016. This is an effort to ensure that the public is continuously reminded of the manatee slow speed zones. We have some brochures to share with the media representatives here today, and we ask that you take these back to your stations and post them to your website. Also, the media advisory, we have included some links that have important information. We will have that information on our website at JAXSHERIFF.org later today, along with a link to our Sheriff's Watch River program, and we encourage those that live on the waterways to join this program and help protect our waterways. Next, I would like to open it up to our partners to say a few words. Start with Dr. Jerry Pinto.
Thank you. For a number of years now, the city and Jacksonville University have been working together to monitor manatees in Duval County, and we put together the Manatee Protection Plan. And we have seen over the years an increase in manatee numbers. So while that's a good thing for the manatee population, you know, whenever you have more manatees, you have the chance for more encounters between people and manatees and boats and manatees. And so we would like to make sure that the public know that it'll be increasingly important to be vigilant and look out for these creatures. Now, they tend to use the shorelines more, shallow water. It helps if you wear polarized sunglasses. I'm wearing some right now, and they help to let you look into the water better and easier and identify whether a manatee is around your boat before you put it in gear and start moving. I would also emphasize that these threatened species now are still protected under the Endangered Species Act, and it is illegal to feed manatees or provide them with water. And the reason for that is we don't want them to become domesticated. We want them to stay wild. We want them to, we don't want to change their behavior in any way that might prevent their ability to survive in the environment. And with that, I guess we can
Go on down the line if you like. Luke, would you like to say anything?
Sure. A lot of people think of the Coast Guard as a law enforcement branch and doing things like that, but one of our main missions is maritime environmental protection. And we, as the sheriff said, there's a lot of navigable waterways. It's a big area, so this is definitely a joint partnership. It's definitely a joint partnership in enforcing these and helping the maritime environment.
Thank you. Nadia, would you like to?
Sure. Hi, this season as we welcome manatees back to the waterways, we want to let people know about some of the common behaviors that you may see in manatees. So this includes surface resting. This is where manatees will log at the surface for an extended period of time, level in the water. It is a natural common behavior, along with mating herds. With mating herds, females are actually larger than the males, and in a mating herd, you'll have multiple males vying for a position on the female. This causes a lot of commotion and a lot of activity, and the FWC hotline gets a lot of calls regarding this. Well, the call that typically comes into the hotline is that there's a mom manatee and all the babies are trying to save it. If you do observe a manatee mating herd, we ask that you leave the animals alone, give them space, and let nature take its course. However, if you do see an injured, dead, or tagged manatee, we ask that you call the FWC hotline, which is 1-888-404-FWCC 3922, which is 24/7. A live dispatch officer will take your information and a biologist will call you back. Photos and videos are appreciated, even of deceased animals. And then finally, I'd just like to take this opportunity to educate that in the state of Florida, it is actually illegal to release 10 or more balloons in a 24-hour period. This is because balloons and their string actually end up in our waterways and oceans, killing marine animals. So we know people have the best of intentions, so we ask that the information that you learn here today, that you please share with others. Thank you.
Good morning. Springtime is here, and the manatees are back in the St. Johns River and the Intercoastal Waterway. Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission would like to caution you all to look out for the manatees and to obey manatee speed zones. We will be out there enforcing manatee zones, so we ask that you pay attention to the manatee speed zones. Manatees are large mammals and slow moving, and they're very hard to detect under the water. So we would ask operators of boats and personal watercrafts to follow these basic steps when you're out there on the water. Wear polarized sunglasses to help spot manatees. Look for large circles in the water, which is an indication of manatee footprints. Look for their snout out of the water, and slow down and comply with the manatee speed zones.
Anybody else have anything else? I got one more, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Oh, Jim, would you like to speak?
Well, thanks for having the Fish and Wildlife Service here this morning to help kick off manatee awareness. We're pleased to be a partner, a cooperator. We get into manatee enforcement and management and things of that nature, and it's always been a pleasure to work with folks and further manatee conservation. We've had some good news this year. Here in Jacksonville, the Jacksonville Zoo has a new manatee hospital that's about to start up operations, and it's really great to have a facility like that here in town. Just as an additional measure there to help out with any injured or distressed manatees that might come here locally. We're very excited about coming on board there and being able to help out with manatee conservation efforts. The other good news that we've had this year is the Fish and Wildlife Service has reclassified the manatee. The manatee has historically been classified as endangered, and we conducted a status review and said that, well, manatees have actually improved, that they're now a threatened species. For many people it's a little complicated. They think that, oh, well, if they're no longer endangered, they must no longer be protected. That's not the case. Manatees are protected. They're still protected, and this change in status has nothing to do with whether or not you obey the manatee protection zones that are out there on our waterways. You are still required to obey these manatee protection zone regulations. The change in status does not mean that protection has gone away. They're still threatened. There's still many threats to manatees, and watercraft continue to be the most significant threat to manatees here in the southeastern U.S. So please, while you're out there, abide by the regulations. Manatees, they do need your help. They do need your compliance with these measures. And, we really appreciate everyone's cooperation. It's this cooperation that's really been able to bring us to this historic point in their status. And so it's really appreciated. But thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I think that's everybody. Again, thank you again for coming out today and for helping us get the word out about this public awareness campaign. We'll be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any at this time.
Is the reclassification of the manatee a result of enforcement efforts like this, or is it a combination of factors?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there are many measures that have been taken that have improved the status of the manatees, and without a doubt, enforcement has just been key to that. Getting boater compliance with the protection zones has reduced or has kept the number of watercraft collisions with manatees at a level such that the population has expanded. So it's been a really important component of this effort.
Do you mind saying your name and title for us, sir?
Yes, my name is Jim Valade, and I'm the Florida Manatee Recovery Coordinator with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Yes, it's V as in Victor, A-L-A, D as in Delta, E as in Echo.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Is there someone available to kind of explain what manatees may be attracted to, or what someone should look out for? I know you guys said polarized sunglasses can help, but...
Great.
Thank you. So I'm Jerry Pinto with the Marine Science Research Institute at Jacksonville University. Manatees are a pretty inquisitive animal. So they will approach boats, they will approach people from time to time. Some of them are pretty habituated to people, and in some places in Florida, they will roll over on their back and let you scratch their bellies. We want to discourage that kind of interaction because that changes their behavior, as I said earlier, and it reduces their ability to survive as wild animals. But they are fairly inquisitive, so they tend to be found sometimes in the mariners chewing on ropes, almost like they're flossing their teeth. But they like to play with buoys, so they're playful and inquisitive animals by nature.
And can you spell your last name for me, sir?
Pinto, P-I-N-T-O.
Thank you. What goes into determining what areas are designated manatee protection zones? How do you guys go about classifying an area like that?
So over the years, when we put together the Manatee Protection Plan, a lot of different data was gathered to do that. So we did an inventory of everything that affects manatees, basically. We looked at boat traffic, we looked at manatee deaths, we looked at manatee abundance, basically, from aerial surveys, and put all those things together and came up with hotspots, if you like. And based on that, you can use that information to start to put together where you want to put speed zones and so on.
What kind of markings will, tell boaters that, hey, you're entering this zone?
So we have manatee zones that are designated by buoys in the water. And so these represent buffer zones. So if you're inside the buffer zone, it's called a shoreline buffer zone, if you're inside the buffer zone, you want to be traveling at slow speed, minimum wake. If you're outside the buffer zone, you can resume normal speed and operation. In some places, we have signs. Some have 2 posts, some have single posts. These big signs with orange lettering and orange markings on them, international signs that designate a warning area. And so read the signs. They will tell you what speed and where you and where you can go fast and where you can't go fast.
This may be a question for one of the officers, but I know you touched briefly on the how much it can cost for fines. Is it if you're caught going faster in one of the low speed zones, is that where you can get ticketed right away as like your first fine, and then does it keep increasing, and could you go to jail if you keep getting these tickets?
Yeah, well, for state law enforcement, first off, I'm Officer Roland Green, ROLAND-GREEN with Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Typically, if it's a first-time violator for the state, we'll issue a warning if they have no prior history, and then thereafter, it's a $90 fine for each violation in the Manatee zones. For Florida, with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, we don't have an officer here, but their fines do increase as they start off. There's much higher. I believe it starts off like, it goes something like from 100, then the second offense to 200, then the third offense to 500. And so that's how it works as with the federal violation of the Manatee zones.
Have y'all found, is this a deterrent? Is it enough? Or, are there plenty reoffenders?
No, I don't find, we don't find too many habitual offenders. We like to take the approach to educate first so that because people move in, they come in from different parts of the state, and they're new to boating here in Florida, so we like to educate first, and we give them a brochure, and that explains, hey, these are the Manatee zones, and you need to slow down.
Is that the biggest excuse you guys get when you catch somebody speeding in a Manatee zone, or what's the most common excuse you guys receive from boaters?
Well, a common excuse would be they say they don't know. But when we run their vessel registration number and we find out they have been warned before in the past, then that's the time they're going to get a citation.
And I know you spoke about there's been 1 death so far this year. Is that for Jacksonville area?
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all good?
I think so. Okay.